let's think about telecommunications here for just a minute. First and foremost, things used to be really simple. Telecommunications involved the telephone. If it was telecommunications, it was all about calling people on the phone, talking to them. Yeah, you used to have modems and you could connect computers through the phone lines and things like that. But for the most part, when you were talking about telecommunications, you were talking about the telephone. Things have changed quite a bit, and it's accelerated big time in just the last few years. First of all, the internet, of course, has become widespread. Since the late 90s, everybody's gotten on the internet, and due to the unbelievable explosion of the internet, a technology that expanded across the United States faster than any other technology before it, most phone systems and communication systems have began spreading over the data lines. So things aren't quite as simple when it comes to telecommunications. Things aren't quite as simple as telephone lines anymore. We talked before about how voice over IP had become a standard tool being used. But now, even on top of that, what do we do? What are we talking about when we're talking about modern technologies like Skype and Teams and Zoom? Is that telecommunications? Those are communication technologies. It is happening over copper lines or over fiber lines, over different types of networking configurations. So does that all fit into telecommunications? And then we start talking about cellular technologies, the technologies that drive our smartphones. Again, the mobile phone is another one of those things. Is that just for communicating, just for making phone calls anymore? It all kind of started out with the pager, and you would be able to send little snippets of text. And then when the phones came out, we were able to text each other back and forth. So it's not really about taking calls. It's not really about the phone anymore. Now it's more about sending text messages. And then we get the smartphone with the iPhone. And now we're talking about a lot more than just making phone calls. So does mobile technology, is that all part of telecommunications? Is that all, does that all fit into this worldview that we're moving with forward when we talk about telecommunications? It's a great question because it gets pretty complicated, and it gets complicated really fast, which is why it's so important to work with an IT company like Advantage Technology, for example, that's got lots of experience with both networking, data storage, data management, and telecommunications, traditional telecommunications, phone lines, and data lines, everything in between, from copper, from plain old copper to modern day fiber optics, and of course wireless technologies. There's all kinds of things going on that really they all kind of piggyback off each other, and they all kind of mix together. It's not nearly as cut and dry as it used to be. Like I said before, it used to be pretty straightforward. Your telecommunications had to do with telephones, and now it's, your data and your phones and everything is just all over the place. Well, so what's happening with telecommunications? So let's get that out. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, we're talking more about communications over these networks, whether they're wired or wireless. That's what we're talking about. So when we talk about telecommunications, we're including technologies like Zoom. We're including technologies like Teams that can do both voice calls and video calls. And you can even call into a Zoom or a team meeting from a standard desk phone. So these all kind of blend together, and that's what we're talking about. What's the future looking like? Well, the big change coming up in the future, of course, is 5G. 5G is going to be a huge game-changing technology, primarily because it's so much faster and can handle such a greater load than the current LTE technologies that are available out there. What you're dealing with 5G technology is the bandwidth and the latency that's comparable to wired broadband. And that's really going to be a game changer. So one of the biggest challenges in a state like West Virginia, where Advantage Technology is headquartered, is our geography makes it really difficult to run line. copper line, fiber optic lines, any kind of lines. It makes any kinds of electrical lines, any kinds of lines very difficult, and any kind of construction in general, because the topography is so hilly. So wireless technology also has some challenges in that same regard, but with 5G technology, you can spread out those towers a little bit better, and they are just as fast. Now, there was recently some infrastructure investment in the federal government that's basically going to be distributing that money. Instead of the federal government doing the broadband installation, they're going to be distributing that funding to the states, and the states will be able to install the infrastructure as they see fit for broadband expansion. Now, one of the things that's interesting about that too is those types of expansion programs have always favored wired technology. So they've always been all about expanding broadband through things like copper, fiber optic, things like that. Well, this new infrastructure plan is going to be agnostic on that. They won't care whether it's wired or wireless as long as it meets some minimal standards. One of the newer technologies that's out there that's really exciting is Starlink, produced by Tesla CEO Elon Musk, and I guess Twitter CEO now too. I always think of him as the Tesla CEO, but he's the multi-billionaire, multi-business startup guy. Elon Musk has a company called Starlink, and they're using low atmosphere satellites in order to deliver that. Well, those kinds of technologies and 5G technologies are also going to be distributed in other areas to do the same type of thing. So that's going to enable broadband to be more available to more places. So imagine, we've talked before about IoT and what IoT means for everything from smart homes to farming to mining sites to energy production. All these different places that could benefit from having smart technology, automated cars, automated trucking, railroad lines, automated rail systems. So all these systems that could be benefiting from broadband due to some of these changes with 5G and infrastructure distribution, money's distribution. Maybe with all those systems coming in place, more IoT devices are going to be able to come online, making that technology more available. Who knows where that's going to lead? There could be a time where smart cities are everywhere. Every little home, small town will have its own kind of smart city plan that they'll be able to incorporate without tremendous load of investments in broadband technology, because it'll be available cheaply and easily through all kinds of different methods. And there's also a really interesting shift in private 5G cellular networks. So imagine like big campuses, like school campuses, or building campuses, like companies that have large factories, things like that. And instead of relying on the 5G mobile networks and everybody having 5G access that way, which can be pretty expensive and unreliable for them to rely on that, they build their own edge computing system that uses 5G, so that all of their devices basically connect, the cellular information connects locally on a private cellular network, which is a new way that's starting to roll out now as well. All of that comes with increased cybersecurity risks, of course. The more data that's going to be traveling around, the more cybersecurity problems there's going to be. That's always a threat, and that's always something that we have to keep an eye on. All of this kind of stuff is going to be moving on in the future. If any of this stuff kind of sparks an idea for you and you're interested in expanding into some of these new telecommunications and learning more about that, you can always contact Advantage Technology. We're here for you to help you out with that. Shoot us a message. Hit us up on social media. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe. Pay attention to us. We've got all the latest information on these types of things. It's going to be an exciting decade moving forward with telecommunications. Telecommunications is not, your phone, your desktop phone isn't dead yet. Telecommunications isn't going anywhere. It's just evolving, and it's just changing like everything else does. So make sure you keep an eye out on it. Things are changing. Things are getting exciting, and they will continue. We are right here for you if you need any help. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, and stick with us, and we will always be here for you at Advantage Technology. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.